prison is like a big pile of shit. It's like, where do you want to be on a pile of shit? You want to be on top or you want to be on bottom? And that's just it.
Yes, man.
And so the bad guys are on top. And it's so funny about, I just want to do my time. Well, there's people in here that don't want you to just do your time. And I went and sat on the little ottoman in front of him, and I said, "Hi, Dad." And just when I said that, my mom comes out of the kitchen and she says, "Daddy, I have some cookies and milk. Do you want them?" Badass convict, man.
Right.
Just finished 5 years. I'm going to have cookies and milk at Mom.
Yeah.
I was in Reseda Park, and we were all there at a bench, and I went over I was trying to piss on a duck. And I remember looking up and saying, "I'm an alcoholic, and without this program, I'm going to die, go insane, or go to jail."
Today's guest is a man whose life proves one thing beyond any doubt: your past does not get the final word. This is a man who came up hard, prison yards, violence, addiction, and somehow walked out carrying humility, discipline, and a commitment to service. Hollywood didn't save him. Sobriety did. Service did. God did. He didn't just survive a story. He turned around and went back for others. This isn't a conversation about movies. This is a conversation about redemption, responsibility, and the miracle of staying sober one day at a time. It's an incredible honor to welcome my brother, Danny Trejo.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome, Danny. Welcome, man. There's so many things we can talk about, and I'm so blessed. You're such a busy man. Are you really 81?
Yeah.
My God.
May 16th, I'll be 82.
It's incredible, buddy. You're still looking good. It's incredible, man.
I try to stay in shape. I blew my knee, so everybody needs knees, so I got a new knee, and so I'm limping around, but I get around.
Let's start with Uncle Gilbert. I mean, he got you going. Uncle Gilbert.
My Uncle Gilbert,
yeah.
I say prayers for him every night. And he passed quite a while ago, but you turned me on to grass when I was about 8 years old. But everybody kind of looks at that like, but when you're 15 and 16 and you're smoking weed, you turn everything on. You get your cats loaded, your dogs loaded, blow into the parakeet cage. Parakeet starts singing like crazy. I walked up to his friends. They were sitting out in the yard reading the Bible. And when I walked up, I was 8 years old. I had 2 guns on and holsters and a cowboy hat. And I remember hearing, "Let's get him loaded." And all of a sudden, it's like they handed me this nasty ass cigarette, right? And I wouldn't touch it. But in those days, they didn't have like the little lick them. You never smoked that. It was like I don't know, cotton paper. I don't know what kind of, but and so they got a bag, put it over my head, cut all the blue smoke in it, and
wow,
I got buzzed.
Bet you did.
Funny, man. I hung up my cowboy, and it's funny. I am a firm believer that people that are addicts, they have a chromosome or something missing. It's like we're different than other people. And one of the proofs that I had was Timmy Sanchez, my neighbor. He was a year younger than me, and I was about 10 then. And I had a joint, and I called him. "Timmy, come here. Let's smoke this." Yeah, he did it. He got deathly ill. He got sick. I mean, he was vomiting and went home and went to bed, never blew weed again, never got loaded again.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And so I think now I could look back and say, well, wait a minute. He didn't have that thing that said more. I smoked weed till about 12 years old, and Gilbert was shooting heroin, and so I busted him in the bathroom, and I said, "Give me some." I know what it was, but I knew if he had it, I wanted it. That's my uncle, my hero. And I remember he said, "No, Danny boy, get out of here." I can't give you none of this. I said, give me some raw tail, because he had my grandfather's syringe. My
Wow.
grandfather was a diabetic.
Wow.
And so I got shit beat out of me for using that as a squirt gun one time. So he said, well, wait. And then I remember him telling me, hold this. And I held the tie, the belt, and I'm looking and I watched the whole thing, the little explosion of the blood, bang, and because you can see all that in a syringe. You can't see it in a dropper, you know what I mean?
Right.
And boom, and wow. And I never liked shots, you know what I mean? But for some reason, I just stood there, held that tie, and bang. And the next thing I knew, I was outside soaking wet because I went out. He threw me in the shower. Then I was outside just soaking wet, sitting there just loving it, just loving the feeling.
You loved it?
Yeah, just
from the gate.
Wasn't scared of my dad, didn't care what my mom said. School didn't matter. It was just that little thing right there. That's all there is, just that little thing right there. I remember hearing the ice cream truck and Gilbert saying, get us the ice cream. Just wasted. They were both sitting on my grandmother's yard. And I got up and I got two big sticks and sitting there. And I remember and we had three dogs, Butch, Blackie, and Bazoo, right? Two German Shepherd mixes and a boxer. And I had my ice cream and I was like, but the dog, hey, and I just to my forehead. But that euphoric feeling, I chased till I was 24 years old in the pen.
Wow.
Wow.
And you were off to the races at that point.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Me and a guy named, Frankie Madrano. That's right.
Your memory's unbelievable.
And he was 15. He was like 15 when I was 12. And so he was already using dope. And so I chased him and my uncle. And it's funny because my uncle became a balloon salesman. It's like in the middle of the night, somebody would he'd go to the window, pull a balloon out of his mouth, hand him a balloon. It's heroin.
Wow, yeah.
And I was like, that's what he did. That's what we did. And I remember going to Sun Valley Park and I'd carry the balloons, and he said, anything happens, swallow him. He'd be over there, I'd be over here, and he'd just go like that, one, give him one, give him two.
Boom.
And so I got into the drug trade real early.
Yeah, wow.
But Frankie was like a burn artist. Frankie would he burned everybody. People wanted to kill him, right? And it was funny when I was in the pen and he showed up, right? And I said, hey, you owe me money, punk. He goes, no, Dad, I got the score, blah, 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 blah. I fuck you. I ain't give you no money, punk. And he said, I'm going to get the stuff and I'm going to show you. And he did, So I had a way of staying pretty loaded when I was in prison. It's like people think that, if you go to prison, you don't get, it's like craziness.
Yeah, so you were in and out of jail majority of your life, right?
Juvenile, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of trouble. Right? Yeah.
You know what? If you look, most of my trouble was either straight behind alcohol or straight behind drugs. If I was doing a burglary, it was because I was shooting dope. If I was doing an assault, it was because I was drunk and fighting, but I never checks. Well, I did checks one time, but I ended up with robbing people with a check. Bonds Market. And this girl who was writing checks, she was real good. Try it, Danny. She made me out a check, and I went in there and I tried to cash this check, and this guy kept, well, I can't. I said, just shut up, give me some money. So I just hit the bonds, Do
your thing.
She was in the car looking at just laughing her ass off, and I'm doing a robbery, and it was like, growing up, to me, life was funny. I mean, it was funny. It was the way things happened, the way things happened.
And then you took up, in San Quentin, you took up boxing, right?
No, I've been fighting all my uncle,
professionally,
was a champion. My uncle Gilbert was a champion.
So give that the boxing story.
Well, my uncle in the service, he's the paratroopers, and I got a picture of him as a champ, and
wow.
And so I used to start I used to box. I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. He started showing me how to box. The first fight I won boxing was at the Burbank Armory. I was 11 and this kid was 14.
Wow.
But his fighter dropped out. And so they said, hey, come on, Dad, you can fight him. You can fight him. So I was scared to death. The only reason I beat that kid was I was scared to death.
Right, exactly.
I almost pissed my pants. I was like, well, yeah, I didn't really want to do it, but I got 4 of the guys that I looked up to saying, yeah, come on, you can do it. So that kid didn't have a chance. My fear got him, you know. And that's what I started doing. Every institution I was in, I ended up lightweight and welterweight champ.
Wow.
Just behind the training that he gave me, you know. But prison is like a little different, you know. The fights are a little different. Elbows are okay, you know. I mean, you know, if you miss a right hand and hit with your elbow, it's not like a fine.
Right.
But I shot dope every penitentiary I was in.
I'm going to just do a couple prison stories, and I'm moving into your sobriety, if that's cool, right?
I love sobriety.
We're going to talk about sobriety and your incredible life, man. Can you tell the domino story?
Well, they used to have the benches, these steel benches out in, it's the cement benches. And then the benches, was a table, the benches were like cement. You couldn't pick them up or use them as a weapon or anything. And they used to play dominoes there, to have dominoes. And I was good at dominoes, you know, and I got a run of 5,
Oof.
you know, and so I'm in, I got it, you know. So bam, I dropped the spinner, big 5s, you know, and people were like, nobody scored. And then it came back to me. I got ready to drop another 15, and these guys stabbed this guy at the domino table, and he wasn't playing. But boom, 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 they stabbed him, and he fell on the table, you know. And I can remember having this run of 5s. That means I got the money, you know what I mean? And I remember like trying to grab and push him off, and said, no, wait, but when somebody gets stabbed, you have to leave that area immediately, or you did it,
right?
You know, or you know who did it. And I remember like, no, wait, hold on. And Tyrone Rise, a friend of mine who was my backup, would grab me, and like we started going on, wait a minute, Ty, I gotta find it. And I didn't realize it till I got into my cell, you know, and I had these dominoes, and the thought hit me, what am I turning into?
Wow.
Honest to God, you know, what am I turning into? And I almost, you don't cry, but you get feelings, you know. And that guy had a sister, a brother, a kid, maybe, you know, and I didn't even care. I just wanted to play my dominoes. And I remember I kept those dominoes for years, just to like remind
you
what you're turning into. Prison is like a big pile of shit. It's like, where do you want to be on a pile of shit? You want to be on top, or you want to be on bottom? And that's just it.
Yes.
And so the bad guys are on top, you know. And it's so funny about, I just want to do my time. Yeah, well, there's people in here that don't want you to just do your time. You know, if you want to be left alone, you got to pay. And me and Tyrone Tyrone Rye was a Mexican, right? And his mom loved Tyrone Powell, so she named him Tyrone. But Tyrone is an African American, and Tyrone is love. And so when you were talking to him, you had to be real careful the way you said Tyrone. If you said it too much, like for a black man, hey, Tyrone, you're like, what do you mean? You're like, boom, you see he's turning me. I call him Ty. I wouldn't even call him Tyrone. Hey, Ty, you know, and the people that knew him would call him Ty. And me and him were like, we started to, we don't need money. Because by the time you get to San Quentin, you've kind of run out of people that'll support you on the street.
Wow.
And the only ones in the 60s, a lot of them hippie kids, them youngsters, started coming into Quentin, right? And they would have trouble, you know. They had no experience of being in the joint and ended up in San Quentin. So it's like they're prey, and that's what you got. You either got predators or prey.
Mhm.
That's it. There's no, I want to do my time. Yeah, but I want you to pay me to do your time.
Mhm.
And so we started like collecting a couple of kids. Look, you're going to try it in this joint, and if you don't want any trouble, let us know, and we'll watch out for you. Some of them wanted to be, no, I'm all right. And then come show up with a black eye, or hey, man, this guy wants to make me a girl. It's like, well, you look like a girl, and they would have their moms or whoever was writing send a check to an address, and they would be protected.
Wow, right.
And so we had about 6 kids. We call them kids. They're adults, but you call them kids because they're just lost. And we had them sending us checks, so we had a pretty good payload going. You know what I mean? But the only problem is that you have to be willing to protect that kid.
Right on.
And Tyrone had a reputation of just wanting to stab somebody. I don't even think he needed a reason. But and I had a reputation of being lightweight and welterweight. But that doesn't matter. Nobody fist fights in prison.
Right.
If you fist fight, you get caught. If I start fighting, you're going to start fighting, then we get caught. But if I come up behind you and stab you 3 times or walk away, you drop, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier. I know it's easier to stab somebody than it is to fight somebody.
The toughest guy is the guy with 5 knives.
You know what? Hey,
He can run fast.
There are no tough guys. There's guys that survive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you survive either on the top of a pile of shit or not.
Yeah, right on.
And so me and Ty had a pretty good reputation going, and when the kid would tell somebody, "Hey, wait, I'm Danny Trejo, so I'm Ty's," and all right, leave him alone, because there's too many fish in the sea anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To like butt up against somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing like dealing. It's like a good friend of mine, Richard Berry. He was from the Valley, and he was dealing. He was dealing dope, and so he said, "Danny, I need help collecting, man." Cool. So me and Ty would collect for him, because you get dope on credit, and hey, I'll pay up you. So you either pay or get stabbed, right. And so I can remember like collecting, saying, "Hey, look, you gotta pay. Come on, what do you want to do?"
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna pay him. Because Tyrone would be standing there always waiting to stab him.
Hmm.
We became pretty well known in penal system, and we always had drugs because of Richard.
Did you think you were going to spend the rest of your life in prison?
I knew I was.
You was, right?
Yeah,
That was it.
You know what? In 1968, Cinco de Mayo, 1968, in Soledad, I got transferred to Soledad, and I had a good thing going in Soledad. I ran everything. They had an outside baseball team come in, bunch of college kids. Cinco de Mayo means you have to get drunk. It means on the streets, it means you'll get stabbed by your wife, you'll shoot a gun, you'll beat up a neighbor, you'll crash your car. This is like mandatory, for a real Mexican. It's like, and they won a Battle of Puebla, which is a little town of 38 or something, right? And they won this battle. So so if they declared it a holiday, and so we celebrate Cinco de Mayo. In the pen, they bring this outside baseball team, college kids, in to play a bunch of drunk Mexicans. It was almost funny. And then you're not allowed chewing gum in prison. These kids come in, baseball players chew gum or tobacco, but this kid comes, he's playing third base, and we're on the third base bleachers, and this kid's right there by the wall, watching, and he's got this popping this gum. And Ray, who had come down from Tascadero State Mental Hospital for criminal insane. He had a 7-year top. He did 5 in Tascadero, and then they brought him here. He's got 2 more, and he's gone, right? It's funny because he's talking like a little kid. She had shock treatments up in Tascadero. Gee, I wasn't gum, man. I've had no gum. Look, he's got gum. I'll bet you it's bubble wubble. You know. And I said, hey, don't fuck with that guy, man. He knows karate. Beat the shit out of him, man. I went to the bathroom. When I came back, I heard the whistles blowing and everything going on. And Ray had this guy on the ground just beat him. Henry ruptured the coach.
Oh, wow.
Ray just all took this guy's lip off. And it was alleged that I threw a rock and hit Lieutenant Gibbons. And the 3 of us went to the hole. Cinco de Mayo, 1968. And it was strange that we didn't really sober up till like the 6th, the next day. And I remember Henry saying, damn, Danny, they're going to top us, meaning they're going to kill us because we all had gas chamber offenses. Assault on an officer, assault on a free guy, that's it. You're cooked. And July of 69, I went to parole board. And the parole board, I remember their first words were, Trejo, we're getting sick of you. And I said, well, that's a pleasant way to start a conversation between 2 gentlemen. And he said, we're kicking you out of here. Bring us back a life sentence. I got a RUAT. My top was 10. I did 5. So they said, bring us back a life sentence. Because when you have a sentence like 10 years, you come back every year. And literally, they just said, bring us back a life sentence. They had no hope, And I remember when I came out of board, I was in shock. And this kid's, what's the matter? I got a RUAT. And he couldn't believe it. And I got out August 23rd, 1969. And I remember when I was in the hole, I promised, I said, you know what, dear Heavenly Father, if you let me die with dignity, I'll say your name every day and I'll do whatever I can for my fellow inmate. I said inmate because there was no way behind the beefs I had, there was no way they were going to let me out. And it was funny when I got out, it's like that thought just kept in my head, I'll do whatever I can for my fellow inmate. I said inmate because I never thought I was getting out.
Wow.
And I called up. I didn't get a big welcome from my mom and dad. Well, I knocked on the door because I was supposed to go to this alcoholics recovery house. But this dope fiend died of an overdose about a week before I got there. So they said, no more dope fiends, just alcoholics. And Chandler Lodge.
Wow.
And I came out and they said, no, your parole plan, no, you can't. And so I had nowhere to go. So I went home and I knocked on my mom. I knocked on the door and she opened the door and said, hi, mijo, it's so good to see you. You're out. But she didn't unlock the screen.
Oh, God.
I almost started crying. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Oh, wow, man.
I said, Mom, my parole plans fell through. Can I stay here just a couple days? And my dad was watching television. It was a Saturday. And she turned around and said, Danny's parole plans fell through. Can he stay here a couple days? And my dad, without even looking up from the TV, said, tell him yes. And then I went into my room, and it was the most humiliating thing I'd ever done in my life. I was going to be 25 years old. I was an ex-convict. I ran everything there was to run in the joint, and I was sitting in the room that I grew up in at Mom and Dad's. And it's like all of a sudden, you're like a big fish, and then you're thrown into a tiny tank. And it's like, I sat there and I was trying to not let the demons get me. And I was angry at my dad. He didn't even get to say hi. He was just done with me. And I remember taking off my shirt. I got that big tattoo on my chest, and my dad hated tattoos. Only Mexican I know with no tattoos, you know. But he hated them. And he'd been in prison, you know, but he'd been in jail. But he shot a guy in a bar, and he promised my grandma if he stabbed the guy at the bar, because in the 30s in the 50s, they used to have the bars downtown, and they would have like cold cuts and stuff on a you know, and then you could just make yourself a sandwich. You know, they didn't have all the homeless people. They got knock them. But this is in the 40s, because my dad went to Texas, and I was born, and then when he came back, he had promised his mom that if they help him with a lawyer, he'll never get in trouble again. And they helped him with a lawyer. He got county time because this guy, I guess, attacked my real mom, you know, at the time, and he kicked the shit out of him, stabbed him, and so I think he got a year, and he came out and started working and never got arrested again. You know, never. Wow. You know, he promised. You know, the first time I went to juvenile hall, I promised I'll never get in trouble. I get 2 weeks later, you know, and so he just didn't consider me a man because I didn't keep my word. You know what I mean? And but. Wow. The biggest problem I had was the drugs and the alcohol. And from the time I was 13 to the time I was like 16, I didn't drink every day, but I used to always put Kool-Aid in wine, and it made it made it gooder to step down, to stay down. But I didn't drink, but I always had a bag of Kool-Aid, you know, because I'd steal it, I'd get it some kind of way. And so I drank all the time. And even when I had drugs, I drank. And people said, you drank with it? Yeah. And so I got upset. And I remember my demons was, wow, your dad, you're a punk. You could take that shit. He didn't even say hello. And I took off my shirt. I got this monster tattoo on my chest, you know.
The tattoo.
I took off my shirt. I knew he had, and I went and sat on the little ottoman in front of him. And I said, "Hi, Dad." And just when I said that, my mom comes out of the kitchen and she says, "Daddy, I have some cookies and milk. Do you want them?"
Oh, fuck, man.
Badass convict, man.
Right.
Just finished 5 years. I'm going to have cookies and milk at mom.
Yeah. That's beautiful, buddy. Wow.
I'll never forget that.
That's a beautiful story.
It like threw water on everything, on my dad, on me. And I just went to the phone. I called up a guy named Frank Russo, because he told me never to mention his name. And I said, come pick me up. He was there. He was in the program.
Well, could you walk the audience through the moment, the day when you were relieved of the desire to use heroin? Your sick and tired moment. When was your day of clarity? Was it that prayer you said?
Was when I said, if you let me die with dignity, I will say your name every day, and I'll do whatever I can for my fellow inmate. I think I had a release there, but I was shooting dope in prison.
Right.
You know what I mean? I laid down. I don't know if I kicked the habit. I was just sick, you know, and we all just kind of like stayed there. And then but I didn't use, you know, till I went to board. And then I went to board, and I come out of board. I forgot, I was in shock. And then when I came out, I couldn't believe it. Frank came, picked me up. We went to a meeting. We went to a meeting that night, an AA meeting, and it was in Reseda. Now, in Reseda, you can't live in Reseda unless you wear a cowboy hat and have cowboy boots. You know what I mean? And I show up in khaki pants, pressed, with a Sir Guy shirt and a vest, and, you know, looking more cholo than everybody had ever looked in their lives. And everybody that got up made me sick. I drank for 50 years. I had a car, a boat, a cabin in Mammoth. I thought Mammoth was big elephant. You know,
Right.
I couldn't understand. They were all talking about what they had. You know, I could say, you know, I never really had anything, and I'm not sorry. I mean, I had a car, crashed it, you know, had all the stuff you get when you're loaded, you know, but that was about it. I was just like, I was sick of that. I didn't want to be here, and I remember looking at Frank, said, "Get the fuck out of here! Wait!" And then it's funny because they tut, and everybody still. Well, it's not good to make sudden movements out of somebody just if you're doing 5 years.
Yeah.
I got out that morning, and I remember going, "Hey!" and I'm looking, and everybody kind of looked, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and then this tug on my arm, and this gorgeous little girl, and she said, "Give me your hand." I said, for what? She said, "The prayer." I didn't even hug my mom. This is the first woman
Wow.
I'm holding her hand at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll never forget. I'm looking at her like, oh my God. And then she's a cute little dude. And almost you need protection. And I'm holding these kids' hands. And Frank looks at me and goes, "I told you it will get better." It's already, that was better for me. You understand?
Oh, that's beautiful, man.
He says, "Come on, you want to take him to coffee?" I said, "Which one?" You know, he said, "That girl." I said, "Okay, do you want to go to coffee?" And she said, "Yeah, we went to coffee. Went to coffee dance. We went to, we just went to about 4 different spots. About 3:30 in the morning, I was in Reseda Park. And we were all there at a bench, and I went over I was trying to piss on a duck. And I remember looking up and saying, "I'm an alcoholic. And without this program, I'm going to die, go insane, or go to jail." I remember Johnny Harris
Wow.
said that. He said, "If you leave the program, you'll die, go insane, or go to jail." That was my sponsor for years. I first met him in the California Youth Authority.
Wow.
You know, and he was the outside speaker. The way I got there is Frank Russo. He came over and said, he got there 6 months before me. He shot a kid and a cop in Sun Valley Receiving Hospital coming out of there. We had a disagreement. And they sent him to the California Youth Authority. And then when I got there, the first weekend I was there, he said, "Danny, you want to come to this AA meeting?" You know, I said, "No, I won't go to no AA meeting." And he says, "Hey, they got cigarettes." You know, I said, "Hey, I'm a journeyman convict. I got a locker full of cigarettes." You know, he said, "Yeah, but we get coffee and cake." I said, "Hello, I got people in the kitchen." And then he says, "Yeah, but girls come up. That's the one commodity. It's very hard to get in prison. You know, got to make believe girls, but you know, pretendies." But so I remember signing the paper. Never sign anything in prison. I said, "I wish to go to Alcoholics Anonymous." You can't say to get some coffee or to get some cake. You got to say to deal with my alcohol problem.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
that goes. That's a chrono, it goes in your record. That follows you every institution you're in. So I went there, women were there, they were gorgeous, okay? And then the following week, Frank said, "Hey, do you go to the meeting?" I said, "Are girls coming?" He said, "No, I ain't going." And he said, "Okay, but when it comes time," I'm not saying against anything about prison guards, they're brilliant, but they don't understand. You know, he pulls down a lever that opens your gate. And because that means you come out and you go to your meeting. And I went out and I said, "Hey, I don't wish to go. I don't feel good." I closed my gate. Well, that thing jumps up. He doesn't understand that because you're not supposed to close your gate. They close your gate. And so he can talk to you. "You better get out now." And wham, that gate's come back over. And you lean out to say, "I don't wish to go." And they got this thing they call the Goon Squad. the goon squad makes you like wish to go places. If you don't want to go, oh wait, I changed my mind, so I go, and I'm glad I did because I met Johnny Harris.
Wow.
And when I met Johnny Harris, I had on starch pants with a pleat, Levi's with a pleat, shirt with a pleat, T-shirt with a pleat, and he looked at me and said, "Man, the only thing that's going to beat you to San Quentin are the headlights on the bus." I thought that was a compliment.
Wow. Wow.
And because everybody else was dressed mainline, just raggedy, just what you get out of the laundry. And we talked, and I liked him. He was cool. The way he dressed was immaculate, and we hit it off. And I seen Johnny Harris in 4 different institutions.
Wow.
He was the outside speaker. I was the inside inmate, because remember, I signed the paper.
Right.
And every institution you go at when you first get the okay, Alcoholics Anonymous, that means you have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I sat in meetings in San Quentin and Folsom and Soledad,
Wow.
And I used to pay people to go for me and sign my, and in Soledad, that's when I really got serious.
Got serious. And then once you got out, Danny, Johnny became your sponsor, right?
Yeah.
And what did he teach you? What did you learn from that man? That great man.
The thing that I learned first was reading. Read the steps. Keep reading them. Read them. He said, don't try to work them because you ain't got that ability. I mean, he was very blunt. But I remember hearing him say, I can't, God can, so I'll let him. And what do you mean? That's the first step. I said, listen, read it. You read it? Do. I can't. Seriously, God can, so I'll let him.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's what it broken down to a simple. You can do whatever you want with them, but that's broken down to a simple story. Now, write. And I started writing. It was funny. Johnny knew it was the same. I mean, we were like birds of a feather. And then I continued to work the steps, going to meetings. And I loved meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I loved them. It was like a gathering of good people, and nobody argued. Everybody talked about and the girls were awesome. You know what I mean? I remember I said Prison 5, and it was unbelievable. And then Frank Russo. He was working with a judge in Van Nuys Court, Judge Hughes.
Wow.
And he had started this program called RIF, and it was for recovery, independence, and freedom. And it was for young people that had been sent by the court. There's a lot of kids with money because their parents could afford an attorney to get them there, And I started bringing kids that couldn't afford, you know what I mean? And we had a great group. But the kids all fucking oh, you've been in prison. And they thought it was something glamorous. And Frank liked the way I said, yeah, you want to be a girl? And I said, I would tell them the truth. I said, look, have you ever thought about stabbing somebody, and no. Well, if you go to prison, you might have to.
Right on.
Because you don't look like me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And there's no way you're as tough as me. I don't care if you fight. I don't care what you do. It's like somebody's going to think you look like a girl. In fact, let me put some makeup, and they go, shut up.
That's
but
great,
they
Danny.
get it.
Right.
And Frank kind of said, you kind of got away with kids, man. I said, Frank, I never grew up.
Wow.
I'm still 12, and they say when you start using drugs, that's
You're right. You say you're 12 years old, maybe
you know
8.
what I mean? That's what he was crying aloud, brain-wise, but I did it. We had these things like drive-in night. I'd never been to a drive-in without a girl. You know what I mean? And what are you gonna do? We're gonna make out and try to get some. And I'd be in a pickup truck with 5 guys, that were, I was 24 and they were all 16, 17, 18 years old. And we'd be watching a movie on the back of a pickup truck. So the best time I've ever had.
Yeah, right on.
And I was usually the only one with any money because I was working. So I'd go get the popcorn,
That's beautiful.
But it gave me a feeling of importance. It gave me a feeling of I'm doing something good and I'm not taking, I'm giving. And I think that's one of the things that's with especially Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, you've got to become a giver rather than the taker, because alcoholics are takers, addicts are unbelievable takers. Give me your money. And yet, so with that transition, good things started happening. Me and a kid named Danny Levitov, I love this kid. He couldn't help laughing, right? Because he did a lot of acid, and he got busted for robbery, and he was robbing Jack in the Boxes, right? And he would give me your money. He'd have a ski mask. Give me your money, and just take them and go, right? You had $30 or $20, whatever. And he's walking down Ventura Boulevard, stashed the gun, kept walking. Whoa! All the cops got on him because he didn't take the ski mask. God, when he said I wanted to kiss him, that was like the best story I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But his mom and dad were pretty wealthy, so they got him into this program, right? Because they went in front of Judge Hughes, and Judge Hughes would send kids to this program. That's where I met him, and we started talking, and I said, hey, let's start a gardening business, Danny. He goes, all right, because he's a real good-looking kid. If he knocked on your door, you wouldn't be afraid of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if I knock on your door, you're going to look through, what do you want?
Right.
And so he would knock on the door and they'd open it. Can I mow your lawn? Sure, and it's okay, you got a lawnmower? And yeah, and okay, got an edger, you got bags, we get all their equipment, and then we'd go mow someone else's lawn and charge them and mow someone else's lawn. We'd mow like 3 lawns and then come back, do their lawn, and we got paid, and that's what we started doing. And everything good that has happened to me has happened as a direct result of helping someone else. Because we started doing, when I left to go to the joint in 65, this lady in my mom's neighborhood had a beautiful yard, dichondra, stupid. Okay, dichondra is the stupidest grass. If a pigeon, don't have to shit on it. If he walks on it, it's going to kill it.
Right.
It's like that. Stupid. You have to be out there every day, right? And this lady had a beautiful dichondra lawn, little pond, beautiful shrubbery. And then I went to the joint. When I come back, there's a jungle. It's a complete jungle. And I asked my mom, hey, what happened to that lady? And she says, oh, mijo, one of her boys got killed in Vietnam and another one got killed in the gang war, and her husband committed suicide in the house, and she turned into the witch lady, the witch lady, and she turned the kids into cats if they're bad. That's what everybody would say.
Wow.
The bruja's going to turn you into a cat if you're not good. So we just went and we started fixing her yard. And Daddy said, how much are we getting paid? We're not getting paid for this. This is what we got to do, And so we started fixing her yard. We got it, we got it, all the shrubs out, all the weed. We got rye, because you just throw ryegrass and it grows real quick, and it looks great. And we got some sprinklers going, and this guy comes over, big old hillbilly, right? He comes over, he said, how much you charging, lady? He got that shit in his mouth. How much you charge that lady? I mean, nothing. She's a crazy lady. I'll never forget. He goes, hey, Pancho. That's $5, Holmes. What? Hey, what? He said, how much you charge that lady? Nothing, man. She's a crazy lady. What are you just doing? He said, well, come over. I want you to look at my yard. And bring Pablo. That's another $5. Levitov, you're a Pablo? And so we went over. And he starts telling us what he wants, and I got him up to about $50. Now you got to remember, this is 1969.
Wow.
You know what I
A lot of
mean?
money.
The start. So that's a lot of money for yard work. And then he goes, look. He goes to the garage, opens his garage. He has every tool known to mankind. He has one of those garages where like, if there's a hammer missing, you know, because there's a hammer painted there. You know what I mean? It's a
Right.
white wall
I
with a
love
blue
that.
hammer, and so you know to say you're missing your hammer. And opens his garage. And look, I'm going to give you this equipment, but you got to do my yard for free. I'll never forget that.
Wow.
And I said,
Wow.
He says, I love working on my yard, but I had a heart attack, and the missus won't let me work on it anymore. And I want my yard right. I said, Missus, you want me to come and wash your back?
It's amazing.
I'll wash your back. I couldn't believe it, right? And because all that stuff was just going to waste. We did his yard that day, and then we had to get a truck to get all the equipment. Because we didn't even have a truck. I had a 59 Chevy Impala, and we used to put all the bags in the trunk because the 59 Impala's got a huge trunk. And my first wife, Debbie, she gave me it, putting all the bags and then going like to Ralph's and dumping them in their trash cans. And very low overhead. That was the start of our gardening business. We bought a truck. We got so much business.
And how long were you sober then? 3-5 years, Danny?
No, hell no. That was about those 70, the end of 70, right about the beginning of the end of 70.
You have a strong work ethic, right?
Oh,
You're
yeah,
working your
no.
ass.
Me and Danny, my dad started working. That's when the Marina Del Rey started getting built up.
Right. Wow.
So my dad
Wow.
would say, hey, my son's got a gardening business. If you want to, yes, bring him. And so, and we were cheaper than anybody else, because we didn't know how to, and we were workaholics anyway, so, wow, we got these big buildings in Marina Del, because they're really simple, because they don't have a huge space. They have all little lawns. You know what I mean? They'll have a little lawn in front of this building, little lawn in front of that building, and shrubberies. So they were simple. And so we're making money. And counting it out every day, I get $1 more because I was the boss. And then when we sold it, we had like 6 people working for us.
Wow. And
we had a hell of a business. But Danny wanted to go into rehab, so did I. So I went down, we sold that business. I went down, he went up to Oxnard and he got a job. I went over to the Narcotics Prevention Project and got a job with a guy named Jimmy Pena, who was running the Narcotics Prevention Project. And I thought he hired me because I was such a great counselor. He hired me because there's a lot of dope fiends hanging around out front. And they're dealing. And that's the best way to get a place shut down,
Right.
And so he said, we got to get rid of this. I said, all right, let's go up the street. And everybody there knew he was a fighter. So they all right, they leave. They all left. And I says, Jimmy, you didn't hire me to be a good, no, you're the muscle. And
great.
so I had a new car. I got a beautiful Cadillac Seville. And so I was the transportation. I used to transport the people that were going to Metropolitan State Hospital to detox.
Wow.
I transport them.
So let me ask you this, Danny. So you're newly sober. You got a few bucks in your pocket. You're getting some real self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
You feel no desire to use again?
Johnny Harris, rest his soul, he passed away, but he told me something. Danny, every time you even get to think about a drink or getting loaded, remember your last day in San Quentin. Remember your last day in Folsom. Remember your last day. And just do it. Just say, San Quentin, Folsom, Soledad.
Right.
Just say it. And it was funny. I would start laughing because it's like a magic lamp. As long as you hold at the lamp, you're cool. Drop that lamp, you're dead stinking. And it's like, to me, I remember when I'd be like working out in the yard, it'd be getting hot, and I'd hear that Budweiser, la cerveza más fina. I'd laugh because in the sun, hot, one beer gives you a headache. I don't care who you are. So you drink two. And then once you drink two, you're like, yeah, you know what? I do a good story. Okay. Me and my dad were watching a fight, right? And he brought a 6-pack, and not for me, but he put it, got one beer, and he was drinking. And about the 10th round, and he finished it. And then he's like this. And I'm like, you want another beer there? You got 5 left. I mean,
Right.
I could not believe that he would leave. I used to drink wine, and I'd drink it and put it in the icebox. Sometimes I would forget to put the cap on, and the whole icebox would smell like Tokay. Don't do that. But it's like my dad was an alcoholic, but of a different kind. He was a functioning alcoholic. Him. 3 of my uncles were, but they drank and worked and drank and worked and did whatever they were supposed to do. And the biggest problem is they weren't afflicted the way I was.
Right.
I start drinking. It's like I break out in penitentiaries.
Right.
It's because you start drinking, and then you're in bars, and then you do coke, and then you all of a sudden you're back in that mix, and they give you money, and it's like, bam. It's that simple. And I've seen that happen so many times. I've been clean and sober 57 years. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm waiting for somebody to come back with some good news.
Yeah, right on. Well, that's
honest
beautiful,
to God, to leave and come back.
Right.
And you know what? 57 years, nobody's come back with good news. Everybody comes back. I lost my house, my wife, my kids won't talk. And just
yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's still out there.
Amen.
It ain't changed.
No, that's really a beautiful point.
I did a 12-step call once. It's one of the kids that I was working with, and he was from Holmby Hills. All right. And I was talking to him, blah, 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 at an NA, and he said, man, my dad, he said, I'll call you. Will you talk to him? I go, sure. We go to a house that was like a mansion. Okay. I've never even been in a house like that, And I remember the carpet, you lost your feet. It was just like this unbelievable. The fuck? And unbelievable wife was just prestige, just everything was just, but the minute you got close to his room, you knew.
Wow.
You know what I mean? The minute it was just like, whoa, the whole atmosphere vibe changed. Went in there, and he was already bleeding from his butt. I mean, he was like, he was dying, and you try to tell him, hey, look, you need hospital. Hey, I can buy you, because money was the. I made this. Do you understand? I built that. And I'm thinking, oh, God, man. And I said, I called Johnny, and I remember saying, hey, sometimes the business is more powerful than you. You know what I mean? And
yes, I do.
I seen the devil all around this guy. He would not listen to nothing. Yeah, my kid's an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I actually saying, he couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand. And I'm thinking, damn, man. It's like, to justify your drinking, you've got to call everybody else. But that's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And he died.
He died.
He died.
And Danny, did I get this right? Did like being a service, was that your entry into the movie business?
Absolutely.
Could you tell that story, please?
You know what? It's like this. One of the kids that I was working with was an extra. He was being an extra. And he told me to come sign up to be an extra. I was okay, I will. I went up and signed up. And then about 3 or 4 nights later, he called me and said, hey, Danny, can you come down to where I work, man? Here's blow. This is 1985. Cocaine was rampant in Los Angeles. There's cocaine all over the joint, man. Can you go? Yeah, okay. It was 11 o'clock at night. I'd been to a late meeting. I drank coffee, so I'm not sleeping. I went down there. I walked onto the movie set of a movie called Runaway Train. And I thought, wow, this is so cool, and I'm on a movie set, and this is like cool. I start talking to the kid, and then this guy comes up and says, "Hey, do you want to be in this movie?" And I said, "What I got to do?" He said, "Do you want to be an extra?" I said, "Extra what?" I didn't. Extra what? And he said, "Can you act like a convict?" I thought this was like, and this is your life. I thought that guy was going to come out. I said, "I don't know. I'll give it a shot." And he gives me a blue shirt. I took off my shirt. When I took off my shirt, he saw that tattoo. And I'll never get it. He goes like this. He goes, "Wait a minute." And then I'm trying to figure out, what gang sign is that? It's a stupid gang. And he said, "You leave your shirt off." So I'm sitting with my shirt off, and I'm looking at this guy that's staring at me, and I'm wondering, okay, what is this guy staring? And then he walks over. He says, "You're Danny Trejo." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Danny, I saw you in the lightweight and the welterweight title up at San Quentin." I said, "You're Eddie Bunker." I knew this guy. This guy was the captain's clerk in San Quentin, most powerful job in the joint. Me and my uncle tried to buy a robbery from him in 1962 in Pacoima. We had talked to him, but that's what you would do. You would go with Eddie, and if he had a good robbery, you could buy it from him, and he'd take half, or take whatever price you wanted. And he gave us a robbery, and we went to this poker game in Pacoima. And he even asked us, "Did you ever take off that poker game?" "Yeah, we got it." It's joking. He said, "Where's my cut?" I got you covered. So, but he says, "Are you still boxing?" And shit, I'm 40 years old, Eddie. I box no more. Damn, we need somebody to train one of the actors how to box. And now they're going to give me $50 a day for acting like a convict, right? And me and him laughed because we'd been acting like convicts all our lives for free, And he says, pays $320 a day.
Wow.
And I remember looking around and saying, "I bet you want this guy beat up." $350.
Wow.
Give me 200 more, I'll kill him. It's a hit, 500. And I couldn't believe it that they wanted me to fight somebody for $350, and then they tell me it's for pretend. I said, "What?" "Yeah, you can't hit him. The actor's a little high strung. He might hit you." I said, "Eddie, for $350, give him a stick. Are you crazy?" I get beat up for free. So I started training Eric Roberts how to box.
Oh, the great Eric Roberts.
Runaway Train. Okay, and Eric thought he could fight. Okay, and you're too pretty to fight. You look just like your sister. You know what I mean? and so I started training him, and he really wanted to learn how to fight. So he would do whatever I told him to do. And Andrei Kozlowski, the director, saw that. And I was only supposed to work 3 days. Andrei kept me 3 weeks.
Wow.
Because they put the fight scene back so that I could train Eric, really so I could work with him. Because every time they wanted Eric to work, Andrei would say, "You, go get Eric." And I'd go, "Eric, let's go do this scene and then we'll train." "All right," because he wanted to train. So that was the candy, and Andrei, about the second week, Andrei comes up and says, "You be in movie." He was a Russian aristocrat, and this is his first American movie. And he didn't know how to handle American movie stars. Because American movie stars, "I don't want this," and they'd go back to the car, into the trailer. In Russia, they shoot you. You know what I mean? So he comes up to me, he goes like this, he goes, "You be in movie, and you fight Eric in movie, and you be my friend." And then he kisses me on both cheeks and walks away. I was, wait a minute, hold on. Now, what does that "be my friend" mean? You got to take a shower with you, Punk. Because nobody says "be my friend" in prison. You know what I mean? And when he said that, I said, "Hey, wait a minute. Look, Eddie, I'm going to train the kid for $320, but if I'm going to be kissing that old man, I want more money." He said, he's European. They kiss. If I would have known what that old man did for me by giving me that sack card, I don't come over and wash. Just let me wash your back, man.
Yeah, right on.
I'll
Wow.
get that front for you. I mean, literally, it's like that changed my life.
Changed your life.
The stunt coordinator saw that I could follow direction, because boxing, you throw straight punches. In the movies, you throw round punches, so the camera can catch them, and he came and, excuse me, Mr. Please, excuse me, Mr. Everybody was afraid of me because they knew I'd been in prison. And excuse me, Mr. Trejo. Yeah, look, you throw a great punch, but the camera won't see it. He goes, okay, so I could follow direction. When that movie got ready to wrap, he came up and said, "Danny, you know what? I'm doing another movie, a couple of fight scenes. Do you wanna be in them?" I said, $320 a day. Yeah, come in, count me in.
Wow.
I haven't stopped working since 1985.
Incredible.
I've had
Wow.
a beautiful career. I've been killed more times than anybody in the movie.
81 times? Is that right? That's amazing.
No, more than that.
More than that? Wow.
And
Incredible.
it's like, you know what? It's unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. And all I had to do was learn how to take direction, how to remember my lines, and don't bump into the furniture.
Don't bump
You know
into
what I
the
mean?
furniture.
And just take your lines and don't have no good ideas. Because everybody that I've seen, every actor, unless you're Tom Cruise, everybody that I've seen, I have an idea. You don't see them much anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Danny, what was the first time you went into a movie theater and you saw yourself on screen? What was that like for you?
That was amazing. That was amazing.
Wow, man.
It was just like I seen Runaway Train. I felt like, wow, you made it. And I remember Eddie saying, that ain't shit. He says, you know what? Don't get your head swole, because everybody, I've helped a lot of guys that got into the movies do one movie and go back to the joint and talk about it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They forget
They forget.
that, if you got a hold of the brass ring, don't let it go.
Right.
And I've never let it go.
You never forgot. Wow.
And it's so funny. It's like I used to see Eddie all the time. I look at him and go, like I said, you got the brass ring. And it just seems like I've been so blessed. I just did Zootopia 2.
Wow.
And it's the biggest grossing movie of all times. And you know what? I can't spell residuals, but there's great.
It's incredible. I saw you in a Super Bowl commercial last night.
Yeah, Super Bowl
Yeah, it's
commercial.
incredible. I mean,
I've done about 4 Super Bowl commercials. They like me or something. I don't know.
yeah, you're a likable guy. I mean,
God,
we could
it's like, I
talk
can't
4
believe it.
hours on your movie. There's one movie I would like to talk to you
Yeah.
about. Heat. What was that like? That's my all-time favorite movie. What was it like?
That's one of mine. Heat. When it was funny because when I met Michael Mann, I had done a movie called I forgot, but my uncle did a movie called The Jericho Mile. My uncle Gilbert, the one that turned me on, he was in Folsom. He was in Folsom. That's where he met Michael Mann. Michael Mann came to do a movie called The Jericho Mile, and all the African Americans came out, all the white guys came out, no Mexicans. Michael Mann, what the hell's going on? And somebody told me, you got to talk to the generals. And what are you talking about? You got to talk to the leaders. And the guys that he had to talk to was a guy named Gilbert Trejo, Gilbert Tewksbury, a couple other people, and they were the heads of the whole deal. And
Wow.
And he talked to my uncle, and he liked my uncle. He won't cop to it, but he paid my uncle SAG wages for the time that they did that movie.
Wow.
And they were up there about 2 weeks, I think.
Wow.
My uncle got paid.
Yeah, right on.
And he did a little bit walkthrough in that movie. When I showed up, Michael Mann made the mistake and said, Gilbert, what's up? And I said, no, Gilbert passed away. What? He said, Gilbert died of an overdose. Oh, man. He said, we did blah, blah. So I know. So I brought him a picture of the guys that he worked with. Here, Gilbert. Oh, thanks. He put up in his office. And he said, we had gone there, me and Eddie, to be armed robbery consultants, to teach De Niro and Kilmer how to do robberies. And Michael Mann said, "You know what? Come here. I want you to read for this part." So
Oh, wow.
I read for Tom Sizemore's part, but the fact Michael Mann told me, he says, in the film, Tom Sizemore grabs a baby and is holding the baby and pointing a gun at, so you couldn't, and he says, "Your uncle wouldn't do that." I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Almost started
Fuck.
every time I think of that, Tom Sizemore was holding that kid in the robbery, and he's got a gun like this and using that baby as a shield. And I remember, I remember Michael Mann saying, "Your uncle would have never done that."
Wow, that's really beautiful, man.
And
Wow.
He changed my name 3 different times. I was different, and they changed the script. And finally, he came up and just said, "Danny, every time I look at you, I think of Gilbert. Is it okay if I call you Gilbert Trejo in the movie?" And I said, yeah. My whole family cried when they heard that.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
So homage to my uncle.
No, that's really beautiful, man.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable guy. He's an unbelievable guy. And so he shot me up with all the big guys, because De Niro was doing an interview one time, and the interviewer said, "Oh, it was one of Trejo's first big movies, wasn't it?" Yeah, but he held his own.
Oof.
And that what a
wow.
He
Right.
was awesome. Well, there was one part where De Niro's asking us, "Are we in?" And Tom Sizemore gave a speech, and then Val Kilmer gave a speech, and he goes, "What about you, Joe?" "Yeah, I'm in." And they started laughing because I didn't give a speech. It wasn't speech time for me.
Was it speech
I could
time?
have.
It's all, you're all business, man.
But yeah, I mean, they all like, De Niro will walk away. He says, "You stole that scene with a yeah, I'm in."
Wow. You do one of the Muppet movies, right?
Yeah.
And then this is what I think kind of who, and then, sadly your mom passes.
Yeah.
Would you be so kind to tell the audience that story, what happened was it Kermit? Yeah.
I was in London and we were doing the Muppets, and it was just a great time, right? Just a great time. And then the night before is Tina Fey was saying goodnight to all the Muppets, "Good night, Trejo, good night, good night."
Oh,
and
wow.
then she gets to be, "Good night, Danny Trejo." And I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? Because she just threw my name in there. And that, wow. And so the next night, Craig, my bodyguard, had to break in. My door was locked. He busted my door and he said, "Danny, you know what? There's no way your mom passed away." And bam, I said, "Oh, okay. Hold on." And then Mario Castillo, the guy, called me, and he says, "Yeah, no, you okay? Don't worry." And then Mary, my secretary, got on the phone. I said, "Okay, I'll be there." "No, don't leave. We're handling everything. Danny, you'll just be in the way. There's a lot of stuff we got to do business-wise, and I know you'll get, please don't, just do your work. Just do your." So I did. I finished the job. When I came home, we had the most beautifulest funeral for my mom. They did everything. They did everything. But it was so funny because when I was there, and I was holding it, just being so cool. And then everybody's coming, "Hey, sorry about you." Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. No, I got it. It's okay. And that's that little fucking Kermit. He comes up, he goes, "Yeah, sorry, what's your mom?"
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Broke for the bathroom. I couldn't believe it. And then I'm trying not to, "You don't cry. You don't," I was just trying to, and then, God, Ray Liotta comes in and says, "Did the Kermit get you?" Because
It's only Ray could.
Kermit, he said, "Because the Kermit got me." God, it was just unbelievable. It was just an unbelievable time, But,
Wow.
things that happened to me in the movies have been like so unreal. I mean, it's like, my son was shooting dope. Gilbert was shooting heavy, man. And you got money, you got friends, and you got dope, God. And I forget what movie I was doing. I think I was in Germany. And I get a call from Mishko, who lived at our house, all the time. And all the kids without dads would hang out with my son because he had a dad. And Mishko called me and said, "Hey, Gilbert's dying, man. He's shooting dope like crazy." And he's got all them fools around him. So I remember calling Mario, telling Mario, "Hey, you know what, I'm packing, I'm going." No, wait, don't. You blow a good gig, no, I gotta go don't worry, I'll find him, don't worry. So I hung up. Then when I hung up, I thought, wait a minute. Mario's from Baldwin Park. Gilbert's in Hollywood. Nobody in Baldwin Park knows Hollywood, But about 6 hours later, he called me and said, "Hey, I got him."
Wow.
I got him. He's here, man. I got him. I'll sit on him till we get home. And I got home in about 3 days later or something, And I remember calling this one girl who had a recovery house up in Lake Arrowhead. And I said, "You got a bitch. I don't care. I'll put him with the girls. It don't matter. Just bring him." That's the kind of friends I got.
Yeah, right on.
And we packed up Gilbert and took him, and it was called Rim of the World, because as you're going, you pass the clouds. You pass through the clouds as you're getting up this. I remember saying, "Well, I guess all avenues of escape are out,"
Wow.
And we dropped him off. My son's got 11 years clean right now.
Wow.
He's a he's a director of movies.
Oh, that's beautiful, Dad. Well done, man.
And it's like God's been so good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the people around.
Mm-hmm. Danny, I want to say a heartfelt thank you to you. You got Trejo's Tacos. You got Trejo's Donuts. You've got a book that everybody must read, right? I mean, it's really...
Yeah, that book was a love letter. Me and Donald Lowe wrote it.
The actor, yeah, right.
And I couldn't find anybody that talked like I talked. And Donald grew up in Calexico. That's like little Mexico, you know what I mean? And he didn't know he was a Mexican until he was like 17 or something.
Wow.
And they used to call him Rojo because he had red hair, So, and he was the first one that didn't use words like prolific and astonishing. He kind of put it.
You got the language.
Well, when my wife read it, when Maeve read it, she said, "This sounds like you." So we just kept writing. We got it done.
What do you want to say to the guy who's coming out of prison that wants to stay sober, the addict who's still suffering right now? What's your message, Danny?
You know what? Find a program, find a meeting, find somebody that you can talk to, because you know what? I don't know nobody that's done it alone, Holmes. And I've been out now about 57 years, So I've been out 56, but I'm just telling you, find somebody, walk into a meeting and say it. "Hey, I just got out." Man. People will jump over chairs trying to help you.
36 years ago, I met you at Dirty Jack's garage in Venice, which was like behind Gold's Gym. And I was a struggling actor. And I asked you, "What do I do?" And you said, "Are you active in alcohol?" I said, "Yeah, I'm very much of a service." He goes, "That's all you need to worry about. Everything will work itself out. Just help people." And you were right, man.
Yeah.
And here we are now. And this is an incredible blessing to have you here and honor you, Danny. Thank you, man.
It's an incredible blessing to be here. I'm telling you, it's like I know podcasts now. I didn't know what they were at first. I thought they were just a joke until people have come up and said, "Hey, I heard you on this guy's podcast, blah, blah." "Yeah, I'm going to meetings." And it's like another avenue to hook them.
Well, thank you for being here.
You.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Godspeed,
you so
brother.
much.
Yeah. The Seano Show is a production of iHeart Podcasts, hosted by me, Seano McFarlane, produced by Pod People and 28th Ave. Our lead producer is Keith Cornelick. Our executive producer is Lindsay Hoffman. Marketing lead is Ashley Weaver. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.